Only when you have that drive, you can unlock that greatness within yourself. And you can stand at any age in front of anybody.
I am Mitchell Chadro, your host, and this is the Listen Up Show. The rise of artificial intelligence, AI, has the potential to transform our future more than any other technology. And there's no one better qualified or situated to explore that future than Clara Durodie, an AI technology strategist. Please sign up to my email list at mitchellchadro.com/signup. mitchellchadro.com/signup. To get the show notes, head over to mitchellchadro.com/show069. Clara has been named a top 100 Fintech woman for 2016, 2018, also listed on the Power List, and a game changer. Clara is a serial entrepreneur, founder of Cognitive Finance Group, a strategic artificial intelligence advisory and investment firm specialized in financial services. She was also an executive and board member at Ackermans and Van Haren, with over 22,000 employees and over $6 billion in revenue. We learn about the business case for AI and what happens if companies don't adopt it sooner than later. Clara, we are ready to listen up. So are you ready to share your story?
Absolutely. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. Thank you for having me.
Wow, this is an awesome topic. I have a tough question right out of the gate. AI, what is it?
Well, artificial intelligence, it's a subset of computer science, and not even computer scientists have not agreed on a set-in-stone definition. This technology has been around in various forms for the past 5 decades.
Can you provide us some practical examples of AI for the audience?
In day-to-day life, one of the forms of narrow AI we come across is perhaps on Amazon. When you go shopping for things, there is a list of recommended items to buy. That is based on your past purchasing behavior. The same thing is with our experience on Netflix. And possibly every day we encounter AI when we go and search on Google. Anything we search on Google, it's powered by AI in the background.
You know, just recently I just saw an article where AI and machine learning are actually transforming law firms in the legal sector. Can you talk to us about a practical example that you're seeing right now where AI in the legal profession is taking root?
Yes, there are many applications of artificial intelligence in legal space. One I have recently, well, not recently, in the past 12 months, 18 months I've encountered is a company based in Cambridge, England. They have developed a very interesting and very useful tool powered by machine learning, and it's a document summarization and analysis tool which empowers lawyers to identify various errors or inconsistencies between documents, primarily documents which are drawn to serve different jurisdictions. Say, legal requirements in European Union are most definitely different from some legal requirements in the States, and such a tool would enable a lawyer to ensure that the documentation which they draw is the final documentation to their client.
The name of this solution and company?
The company is called Luminance, and they're based in Cambridge. And it's it's a very interesting and very useful tool. I always, with great passion about this company, not only because they have developed very useful tools and help professionals on their day-to-day job, but also this company is like Luminance. They are run by really nice people, and actually it's always a pleasure to engage with people like this. I've always said that the ingredient of a successful company is the quality of the people who run it, their competence, as well the solution they try to put out in the market.
I know a lot of litigators, and more particularly those when it comes to medical malpractice, and I saw an article that one of my contacts had recently written about medical doctors' liability for actually not using AI to diagnose patients. Have you heard of anything about this as a practical example with your research and your work?
I haven't come across this particular example, but there is there is a host of research and material out there which has identified that certain AI-powered tools enable an improved medical diagnosis. One would say it's really important to be able to use these tools in order to provide an improved diagnosis for a patient. I very much look forward to actually reading this particular piece of information you refer to.
Startups, entrepreneurs, they're constantly coming up with ideas. What should they be thinking about? What are the challenges of executing in this niche area? What advice would you have for them?
I come across a lot of startups, and some of them I'm involved with in an advisory capacity. There are a few based in London. They reach out to me when they need a small piece of advice. But like anything else in life, we have to look really carefully when and to what we devote our time to. And that's what I do when I decide to mentor these startups. And I see that there are, I think, three main principles which guide me in whether I would select a poor startup or not with my advice and my time. One would be the quality of the people who founded the business. And to me, that the quality of people is one of the basic rules, which sometimes just rules out everything else.
And that's only one of the reasons why I actually had you on, because not only are you accomplished, not only are you successful in your own right, but in reading your personal story before I actually had you on, I got this sense that you were a real, genuine, down-to-earth person, and I love interviewing those types of people.
Thank you. I think life is complicated as it is. For me, not to look at what actually drives me and what actually creates greatness in everything I do, and also in the people I associate myself with or help.
So as far as greatness and focus in terms of the advice for startups and entrepreneurs?
Well, I was saying that when I look at the companies I'd like to be associated with to help them through either mentoring or joining their advisory board, I always look at the founders, and I want to understand what drives them, what keeps them up at night, what kind of problems they are so keen to solve with their startup. And more often than not, the people I choose to work with or be associated with are people in which I see what I call greatness. And it's the level of greatness, which you can see it's almost like it comes through their everything, what they are as a person, the way they speak, the way they look at you, the way they engage with you. Everything is normal to them. And I'll give you an example, and I'll take you back to 2003. Bear with me. I was back in Oxford doing my degree, and my class decided that it would be great to organize an event, a technology-based event, and wouldn't be great to bring some people from the Silicon Valley to Oxford. So naturally, the event was called Silicon Valley Comes to Oxford. What else? It was the third year the school in Oxford has ever considered to don't forget it was 2003. So we invited about 8 people, I think, 8 guests from Silicon Valley, and 2 of them stayed with me because in both of them I saw that level of greatness, that kind of. It's something when you listen to these people talk about their ideas, which touches you, at least touches me. And that's what I call greatness. It's hard to define it and put a finger on it. So one of them was this gentleman who was just so passionate about convincing us that we as a world, we need a network of professionals, and we need a place where professionals can connect to each other, exchange ideas, maybe start negotiating businesses, or it was another way to engage in the business world. And his business and his idea was called LinkedIn. And I remember was just listening to him on that stage in Oxford. Actually, it's the same stage where I was last week. And that's why every time I go up on that stage, I have like a sense of, it's emotion mixed with
Was this Kaufman?
Yeah, it was him in person.
Founder of LinkedIn. talking to you about these ideas before he actually launches LinkedIn.
He was just explaining them, and just look at us. I remember us discussing why would we need that, and we tried to challenge him because that was the whole idea: have a sort of an engaged dialogue with him. And he was explaining in a way in which we believe that actually there is sense in what he was saying, and we needed that. And he helped us see beyond our own limitations, because only limitations can stop you from understanding the true value which a network, which LinkedIn has to our business world. I think he came back to Oxford because I think he went to Oxford. I think he was he was connected somehow to Oxford. I think he's a Rhodes Scholar. Absolutely amazing personality. It's such a brilliant opportunity to meet these people. But before we move on to another subject, I want to tell you about this other person who was standing up there on stage. He was 28, and he was just, at 28, everybody's a kid, right? And this kid, we were a kid because we were the same age, right?
I thought I'm still 28, so I'm thinking I'm still a kid. How's that possible? And I have an 18-year-old.
He was 28, okay. He was 28, standing there in front of us, and he was explaining what he wants to do next. And having sold a majority of shares, having sold his stake in this company called PayPal. And he was just absolutely without blinking, in the most straightforward way, with a way to engage, and which it stayed with me over the years. He explained to us that the next venture he wants to get in and is to build rockets and send them out to space. And I remember this distinctly, we're just looking left and right and thinking like, how's that even possible? You're our age, same age with us. You want to send rockets in space. And he was so passionate about his company called SpaceX and how committed he was to build this rocket. And then I remember someone put his hand up and said, like, have you built any rockets yet? And obviously he said, like, no.
That's amazing.
But I'll tell you something. In both two cases I've just mentioned, I saw that greatness in these two people. It's the vision, it's the determination, the commitment, the humbleness, the desire to do whatever it takes to go and achieve what you want to do. It's never going to be a straightforward road, but as long as you know where you want to go, what's your final objective, there will be many roads taking you to the same objective, as long as you're prepared to see them and embrace them. And in Elon Musk's words, because, yes, the second person, as you worked out, it was Elon Musk.
Yeah, just in case someone's been away for a long time. Yes, that's who you were referring to.
In his own words, you have to be prepared to eat glass as a founder. And it's something I think I read recently in one of his tweets, and I continue to follow him. We haven't stayed in touch over the years, but I'd love to be able to have the opportunity to reconnect with him again and say, look, you touched us, with your conviction and your vision. And coming back to every time I go back to Oxford and every time in my public speaking engagements, I want my audience to take something from me, to feel that they are transformed even if they are transformed in the slightest way, even if they're inspired in the slightest way. To me, that's a huge achievement. Because when you feel that you've got so much within yourself as a visionary, as a thought leader, your commitment and desire to achieve something, you feel that you want to give some of that to the people who listen to you or take the time to listen to you. So I'm really grateful for your listeners, and thank you very much for listening to me today. And I hope if I say something today which will inspire you, to me will be my utmost achievement of this podcast.
Well, listen up, because there's a lot of value bombs in what Clara just said. Tell us a little bit about what your responsibilities in terms of how you were engaging with them when they came to Oxford.
Well, look, we were a bunch of mid-20s Oxford students who just wanted to make a difference, and Oxford is this great place where you they give you the space to experiment and do things differently. We just had this idea, and we went to the dean, and we told him, back then was Anthony, our dean, and we just shared with him what we wanted to do. And it was not just me. We would like to invite these people to come over and talk to us and talk to our students, our classmates, and any other students from the University of Oxford who would be interested to listen to them. So yes, we invited them. It was back in the day when we...
No, that's great. I mean, that is so exciting. So, I mean, I see here on your bio that you're involved in Startup Bootcamp Fintech. Can you tell us a little bit about how you're actually mentoring those young, entrepreneurs and startups? And it also says here that you're also working with AI asset and wealth management startups. So maybe you can talk to us a little bit about that.
Yes, as you might know, that is my background is asset and wealth management. I am an economist by training and a fund manager by vocational training. So I spent a good number of years in financial services, and I have found that, when you work in this space, you learn a lot about what makes a great business model. And I've always been very interested in understanding the entire dynamic of building a business, a successful one. And in my definition of successful, I would include happy employees and people who find passion and interest, a place which they call work. It's also the place where they go and are free to experiment, are allowed to experiment with ideas, and they are encouraged to express their thoughts in relation to their business place. To me, that's what a successful business is. So what I'm trying to drive this discussion to is that when you're involved in financial services as a practitioner, in my case, I started as a fund manager trainee, and then I moved into management executive roles. I realized that when you manage a business in financial services, there are a number of business processes which need to be improved. It's like a fine-tuning, exercise. Like, I don't know, like a piano, for instance. You can't play a piano if you don't fine-tune it every time, or once in a while, or on a regular basis. So business processes are the small parts which make a business great, a business successful. So what I understood is that when you see how you can fine-tune this business processes with different tools, then you increase the likelihood, the probability of building a successful business. So I left the city with a clear understanding that whatever the industry had been doing before 2014 in terms of delivering services to clients and running their own operations at home in their business, whatever they're doing was not the right path. And to me, it was very clear as early as 2012 that artificial intelligence tools are the future. So that's when I started engaging with this technology out of pure curiosity, by the way, because no one in financial services in 2012 was even prepared to entertain anything like intelligent automation.
Yeah, no, and I think that kind of that brings into, let's talk growth then in today's digital economy. I mean, we need pervasive technology innovation, continuously exploring new ways to improve and optimize and reinvent through this wave after wave of emerging and advanced technologies. I mean, we have the newest innovations to tackle, like robotics and intelligent and autonomous systems. So everyone is actually focused on use cases and how and where to apply AI. So now let's get even more basic. You know, we only ask the critical questions here on the Listen Up show, and let's talk a little bit more about the why. Why invest at all? What is the real business imperative for AI?
Well, the business imperative is, I would say, competitiveness, the ability to stay competitive as a business in a world where everybody else is using this technology. It's suicidal not to invest in this technology as a business. It's completely out of this world, and yet, there are a number of financial services companies which just don't see the reason of investing in this technology. And I'm prepared to say it on your show, on your podcast, but also I've always said it in my public speaking engagements. These companies which don't adopt artificial intelligence, they are putting their people at risk. They're putting their stakeholders at risk. Artificial intelligence is not an IT issue anymore. It is a strategic issue. It is a board-level issue. And it's sad to see that board-level directors are still, in 2018, hugely disengaged with regards to understanding this technology. In 2016 and 2017, I've noticed, at least the boards I've come across, and I usually work at that level, I've noticed that there was a clear understanding that something needs to be done about AI at the board level. So the imperative from the top down was something on the lines to the digital people or the digital team or innovation teams would be something. The board said that we need to do something about AI. So what happened is that this innovation teams, they would go away, find some AI-labeled tool, they would bring it in, run it, implement it, and then would report back to the board, we've done something about AI. Happy? Good. Now, in 2018, the same dynamic still happens, and what I submit to this very influential and important executives, I tell them, unless and until you understand what these tools are and how can they help your business, you will never unlock the value of this technology. And then they look at me and they go like, do I really need to learn about AI? And I said, no. Do you need to learn about the engine of a car? No. You need to understand what it is, what it does for you, how you turn the engine on, how do you drive that car. That's something you need to learn. In the same way, members of boards of directors need to learn how to drive this car called artificial intelligence. It is a strategic tool for business growth. And in my upcoming book, I spend most of the book discussing how these tools actually enable business growth. And by not adopting them, executives actually put businesses at risk, shareholders' value at risk, and employees at risk. I heard a lot of time discussions around board of directors saying, no, we just, primarily in 2016, we don't want to adopt AI. We don't want to be seen to be adopting AI at scale because our people would get nervous. And back then, I would tell them what I still tell them today. The more you lead, the more you delay adoption of AI, the higher the likelihood that you will have to fire a larger number of people. So by not adopting AI, you're actually putting your people at risk. Why? Because you as a business, you lose a competitive edge. You don't have the tools to compete with the rest of the people in competing for the same clients. Because we, as an industry in financial services, we compete for the same number of clients. And
Samsung is actually making AI a central pivot point to their strategy, and they formed an actual global AI council that will meet every month, and they're going to actually target and embed personal assistants in every one of their appliance devices that they're going to sell by 2020. So
Absolutely.
Samsung is doing it. So
I mean, and I keep saying to people, in financial services, our industry has started a new era the day Steve Jobs held that device up on stage in 2007 and said, "This is the iPhone." That was the first smartphone brought to the market, and that marked the beginning of a new era in financial services. Very few people understood it, and very few people had understood it then, and they're still struggling with the concept of why do we need to do anything about apart from just creating a new app for our clients. Primarily, this conversation is primarily in retail space, so your audience understands that there is a huge business difference in business models between institutional business and retail business in financial services. So for retail,
but how do you actually measure the business value of AI?
Well, you measure the business value of AI by staying competitive, by customer satisfaction. Well, you stay competitive in the market, which means that you retain the clients you have, and you start attracting new ones, and that's called in our world new business. So if you retain your current business and then you bring in new business, it means that you bring into the market to your customers something which attracts them and want them to be with you. And in this day and age where retail customers are used to having everything in their smartphone, it's ridiculous not to introduce tools which are intelligent and make your customers as a retail bank or wealth management house, make your customers' lives easier, more, you empower them with the knowledge about their own wealth. Because ultimately, financial services, wealth management, it is about people's relationship with their money, and that is an emotional relationship. And
absolutely,
when you get that, when you understand that as a service provider in the space, you understand that you have to do whatever it takes, whatever the technology enables you to start implementing, whatever it takes for you to be able to deliver an improved service to your customers. And I'm going to go back to why AI and why it's so important. Not only it is a strategic tool, but for retail business in financial services, it has a very powerful meaning. In that, that meaning is that for the first time in the history of this industry ever, for the first time, we as service providers, we have the tools to deliver personalized service at scale. What I mean by that is we can look after our clients' wealth in a personalized way, which is understanding each one's specific requirements. But no one is identical with the other one. Our investment horizons are different. Irrespective of age, our circumstances are different. And a truly personalized service, that's where the value is in our industry. And until this time, this era, AI era, we as an industry, we called ourselves as a service industry, financial services industry. Why services? Because we charge people a fee for managing their money and advising them on their financial wealth and health. Now, we have this tool for the first time in our history, which enables us to look individually and personalize the service, the advice we give our clients to enable them to grow their wealth and be better off financially, right? And it's an absolutely suicidal take for any board out there, any board which looks, or of any company which looks after private wealth, not to adopt artificial intelligence. I was in one of the train stations in London, the other day, meaning on the 1st of February, and I almost broke my neck with this year. So I was like in a train moving past this huge panel, advertising board, and on that board, the company, I'm not going to mention the company, it doesn't matter.
Sure.
They act in retail space. The name doesn't matter. The concept matters. On that notice board, advertising board, They thought that they would sell their services by saying, we provide you a personalized service, not artificial intelligence. I mean, if I were to be that chairman of that company, I think I would fire my entire marketing department and whoever else signed off that, because that shows one single thing. Whoever signed off that advertising board, they have no idea what artificial intelligence can do for their business. So that was a monumental mistake, which is the size of, I don't know what is that in feet, but it was about 10 meters by 20 meters big. I mean, it was huge. It's very expensive to put it up, by the way. It's very expensive to do all of that. So instead of spending money in investing in technology to help their people looking after their clients' money, they had rather spend money on silly advertising boards, which is just, to me, it doesn't make any sense, you know. Yeah. That was a good opportunity for me to write to the chairman of the board of that company.
Our startup round is sponsored by Chadrow.net. That's CHADROW.net. Chadrow.net. Startups, bootstrappers, those who like to leverage resources are price smarter. When hiring an attorney, you apply these same smarter maxims. One of our business's greatest costs can be paying your lawyer high hourly rate. More and more businesses will use Chadrow.net to start up their businesses from S to C corporations and LLCs and so much more. Chadrow.net can help you with your contract reviews, lease agreement, changing tax laws, and any other type of legal issue or problem that needs a solution. All this takes time and effort, so you don't want these legal issues to take away from running your business. Your day-to-day main focus is growing your business, so Chadrow.net created a business legal service plan. Just listen up to what the business legal service plan provides you. All lawyers and CPA professionals in the directory are verified as in good standing with their respective state bar and state board of accountancy admitted. These lawyers and CPA professionals provide you and your business with legal and or tax advice. Get access to NDAs, lease agreements, and more. The best part, no more being nickel and dime for a 6-minute telephone call. No more dealing with billable hours, because Chadrow.net is not a law firm. Instead, just pay one upfront, fully disclosed low fee. See for yourself now the business legal service plan at Chadrow.net. Special savings today for the listeners of My Listen Up show when you enter Mitchell at checkout. Don't forget, Chadrow.net. Mitchell at checkout. Chadrow.net. Get legal solutions for life. Chadrow.net. Enter Mitchell at checkout. Now, let's get back to it. Let me shift gears a little bit. I heard you say that for companies that obviously don't adopt AI, they're really doing their employees a disservice. And that kind of brings me to that more Americans, and again, I know that we're speaking to you right now, you're in London, but more Americans are actually fearful that artificial intelligence will ultimately hurt their job and not actually help. Now, this came out in a Brookings Institute survey which took a look at AI versus companies that are increasingly looking at ways to include it in everything they actually do. And so 38% said that AI would actually, this is people who took the survey, 38% said AI would actually reduce their jobs, while only 12% thought it would actually create positions. And so they then break it down into men versus women and different age groups or what have you. But talk to us a little bit about, employees' fears at the company level in terms of AI taking over.
Okay. I will start by taking a little bit of a step back and look at what you've just said, employees' fear. That's correct, actually. It's correct because humans, irrespective of their seniority in their business or anything else in their lives, we humans, we share the same drivers which move forward or keep us in the same place or drag us down. So these two drivers are simple. We function so binary as humans. One driver is love. Love for someone or love for something. You love your children, or you love your hobby, you're driven by that or you love going to the gym. So that is one force, is love, yeah? And that drives.
Sure, absolutely.
That keeps us awake in the morning, or keeps founders of startup companies late until night to achieve what they want to, because they love that with passion, what they want to do. So love is the first drive. The other driver is fear of someone or of something. We are usually afraid of someone or something when we don't know enough about them, or we don't have enough information to make decisions or to make a judgment, which would then empower us to turn the tables and turn that fear into love or interest to grow. So this is what I think is happening. The result of the surveys, and they are here in the UK as well, the result of the surveys is that people don't understand what this technology actually can do for them. And they also...
Yeah, but whose fault is that in terms of getting the word out, in terms of communicating that in a straightforward, easy, and simple fashion to explain to the masses in terms of maybe they shouldn't fear it, maybe they should engage in it. So there's those challenges, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of sort of leadership in this particular space, and why is that?
Well, you see, one of the advices, you're absolutely right. One of the advice we give to our clients is to, when they adopt artificial intelligence, is not only to look at what this technology can do in a clinical way for their business, but we also spend a significant amount of time in helping our clients understand how they can prepare their staff and help them reskill for the next generation of services they need to provide. Because at the end of the day, it's new skills, but same people. And I believe that informing people, obviously most of the people out there, they work for someone or some institution, right? It would be useful for these people if someone in those companies they work for would just help them with workshops within the company or seminars, or they bring in people who would explain what this technology is and how it actually can help them on a case-by-case basis. And on this note, I'd like to cite some of the findings I directly found discussing with a large bank in Asia only this year in March when I was in Asia. And
what bank is that? The Bank of China, or what bank was that?
This bank is one of the leading banks in Asia. They have a strong presence in India. They have a strong presence in Malaysia, in Singapore. So it's one of the most revered and institutions which people look up to. So about 2 years ago, they decided to adopt a conversational AI for customer service and customer engagement to help them with, running processes smoother, and they felt that their customers would benefit. What they did not expect, and that was a correct assumption, what they did not expect, it was like a byproduct, was a high level of satisfaction among their own employees after they adopted this AI, conversational AI. So I spoke with two employees of this bank, and they said to me, since we adopted this conversational AI, we actually have time to do our job, and have time to think about other things. So we don't have to, shuffle around papers and all files and emails and all of that to deal with client requirements. So it's very interesting to see what actually people are not prepared out of fear. They're not prepared to see the positive side of this technology and what it brings in their day-to-day life. So it's an employee satisfaction. It's interesting to start quoting it because it's some food for thought there.
I mentioned that survey from the Brookings Institute, and I also just recently read another survey, but from Fortune, and it talks about not only spending, but also adoption issues. And one of the things it appears is that, yes, the top 500 CEOs, 54% here in 2018 say, sure, AI is very important. And actually that compares very favorably to the same survey done back in 2017 when it only said 39% said it was very important. But one of the things that I thought was of interest was that spending actually stays flat from 2017 to 2018. And I know that we continue to talk about this. I mean, they also went into other technologies like, robotics and virtual reality and blockchain and 3D printing and so forth. And yet they thought that AI was very important, but yet we don't really see the adoption and we don't really see the spending.
I think it would be interesting to read that research. I would welcome if you would.
Yeah, no, I'm going to link to it, and I'm going to also send that to you as well.
But here's what I found from engaging with financial services companies. Yes, there is a clear understanding at the board level that we need to do something about AI, right? And when
Absolutely.
it comes to execution, when it comes to execution, usually execution is like very weak because adoption of AI has been consistently done in the majority of financial services institutions I've known or spoke to directly. The adoption of AI has been done in a siloed way rather than a joined-up exercise, which means the board has a vision, a 10-year vision. The board has a blueprint, a roadmap for adoption of AI. They know what they're going to do in 8 years, in 10 years. They have no idea. The mere fact of saying we need to do something about AI, full stop, that does not give a strong mandate to the executives and to the teams which actually need to do something about AI. This direction, boards are not getting it. The majority of boards are not getting it. It's a short-termism which is destroying business value. And I've seen it time and again. It's underneath this discussion of we need to do something about AI. There's nothing of substance in the majority of cases. And when there's nothing of substance, it means that there is no strong mandate for the executive to run and do things. And then the executive moves it back down to the lower level, the level below them, which is usually the innovation teams. So
what's the solution to all of this?
Well, the solution is that, and this is one of the reasons for which only recently we've taken the decision that we will not get involved in adoption of AI as a silo project. We will only get involved with clients who understand the value of adopting artificial intelligence as a strategic tool, that they need a roadmap to adopt this technology over a 10-year horizon. So to us, it's very clear. Adopting AI in a siloed way, that's not going to unlock value. And actually, in fact, I'm going to quote a survey which someone flagged it up to me the other day. It was done by a company, I think it's called a research company called IDS. I'm quoting
the letters IDS.
Yes, I for India, D for Delta, S for sugar. So apparently in this research, they found that they interviewed about 3,000, 4,000 CEOs, and 93% of the CEOs interviewed, 93%, they were not happy with the innovation program and on what they spent money. I'm not surprised. I'm honestly not surprised. This is money, most of the time it's money down the drain because they go and buy things. They send their innovation teams or digital teams or whatever teams they label today. They send them to buy technology, do something about AI. That's the mission. So those people, without knowing, they think like they work in blind. They don't know what the business strategy is. They just go and buy what they think is best, right?
Sure.
What they speak to their colleagues, and they're like, what's your problem? What kind of problem you want to solve? Okay, tell me. So I'm going to go and shop around and buy you something and bring it back and start running POCs, and we implemented it, and fine, it worked, but it works in a silo. Our industry in financial services is known that we have managed to silo ourselves within organizations, so much so that I know cases in London where there is an office in, say in West London of the same bank, which doesn't know what the office in East London does. I mean, in the same city, they have no idea. They run projects which are duplication. They don't know. And I've been talking to a lot of people who work in this space, and we have all noticed the same thing. People adopt artificial intelligence in silos. That's not going to solve the problem. That's not going to unlock the value of this technology. The value of this technology is unlocked when all these systems talk to each other, when there is a common pool of data where this technology is able to extract insights and then inform the executive and inform the employees or every single business process in real time. That's where the value is, not by just adopting things in a siloed way. That's not going to, and I won't be surprised if in 2 years down the line, there will be like a lot of media covering AI and saying, 93% of those who adopted artificial intelligence, they're not happy with the results. Of course they're not happy because they spent an arm and a leg they can't justify to the board because there's no value, like intrinsic value to extract out of that adoption. And
fascinating.
That's what I see. And there's something else. Here's what the great businesses do. And I've been citing for about a year Goldman Sachs. And now I've started citing JP Morgan. They have found the money, and some numbers say that they have allocated for 2018 $10 billion for technology development. And out of the 10, they have allocated $5 billion with a B, $5 billion for emerging technologies. And then I didn't know why. I saw this article about 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and I thought, like, that's a lot of money. What are these people up to? And
let's try to figure it out.
Let's try to figure it out. And actually, on yesterday, I read an article which starts by saying JP Morgan wants to become Amazon before Amazon becomes JP Morgan, something on those lines, So here's a case of joined up thinking from the board level. This kind of thinking doesn't come from innovation teams. They might have these ideas, but if the board doesn't vet them, if the board does not sanction them, nothing happens, because you cannot spend that kind of money without the board approval. And you need not necessarily that kind of money, but you need significant funds to invest in this technology, which is capital intensive to start with. But then over time, that's where you derive value from it.
So we've talked about greatness. We've talked about young startups who are wanting to be innovative. They have these wonderful AI ideas, but as you know, a lot of your young startups have limited resources. They're bootstrappers. What is your advice to those entrepreneurs, those who are starting up, whether it be a company, a side hustle, and they want to get involved in the AI business for the future?
Well, one, they need to dig really deep within themselves and understand what drives them. I'm serious. It's possibly one of the most difficult exercises one should be or could be subjected to. Know thyself. That's a very complicated problem to solve.
And to thyself be true.
Yes, and to thyself be true. But why is it so important to know what drives you? Because if you don't have that drive, you're going to run out of steam very soon. But only when you have that drive, you can unlock that greatness within yourself. And you can stand at any age in front of anybody on a big stage and tell them that you want to launch rockets in space, even if you've never built rockets ever in your life. So,
we love quotes here on the Listen Up show. You've dropped so many different value bombs in this interview. We have so many pithy, powerful quotes of greatness. We want to thank you for all of that because we love all of that here.
Well, it's a pleasure to share this with you. And again, I hope some of this quote will touch people and inspire them.
You've inspired me. You've motivated me. And I know that the audience will feel the same way. I just have a few questions here in closing before we actually wrap up. We obviously love books on the Listen Up show, and I know that your AI book, as I've mentioned before, is coming out soon, and I know that you've touched upon a little bit of it. I'm going to make sure to link up to that once the book does come out. People can obviously get the show notes back at mitchellchadro.com/show 069. I know that you also did a presentation at Oxford University. I think it was around May 19th, and you actually talked a little bit about the Google Duplex. Do you want to just briefly tell us a little bit about that presentation? I just saw also a post on LinkedIn regarding that as well, and saw some nice photos.
Well, thank you. So here's two things. One is about Google Duplex. It is a breakthrough achievement. It's honestly, for people who work in the industry and understand this technology, it is a breakthrough. And I recommend to everybody who's interested in how this technology actually works, how have they achieved all this fantastic results at Google, to try to find the article which explains, it's been published by Google, and in that article, which is highly technical, but it's interesting to see how, for instance, there is a mathematical way to achieve that which the machine was able to deliver at the right time with the right intonation. So this is one thing about Google. It's a great Google Duplex. It's a great achievement. It's really impressive. Honestly, it's moving in so many ways. It moved me. It touched a lot of people. But like anything great in life, it has to be taken with a lot of responsibility. So I would hope that Google would take this great achievement and deploy it in the most ethical and responsible way. And I'm sure they will do that. The other thing I wanted to mention to you is you mentioned some books. I read a lot, primarily in preparation for finishing my book, but I've always been a little bit of a bookworm. I read a lot and I enjoy reading.
So am I. I love books. We love books. As a matter of fact, all of our guests, when they come on, they recommend a book. Obviously, we're going to link to yours when it comes out. But, yes, if you could recommend a book, because I actually have a book club back at mitchellchadro.com/book, and we learn so much from one another and from reading and staying current. So that's why this is just such a pleasure.
Well, there are many books. I could send them through to you, no problem. But for the show, I'd like to mention two, perhaps.
Go for it.
It's hard to. I'm looking at them. Actually, I'm holding one right now. No, absolutely. So the first one is On Intelligence. It's by Jeff Hawkins, and it's a book written by a computer scientist turned neuroscientist. So it's very interesting to understand what one needs to go through in order to recreate human intelligence in machines. The other one is a book called The Philosophy of Artificial Life. It's a book edited by Margaret Bowden. She's British, and she's an absolutely wonderful computer scientist. She's been with this industry for a number of decades. And there are many other books. I'm looking at them, but I'd like to one more, if I may.
Do it. Go for it. This is like the triple threat.
It's not artificial intelligence, but it helps. I'll tell you why. It's a book called The Square and the Tower by Niall Ferguson. And why is this important? Important because this book talks about the history of human network. And when you read it, and my copy is already just like, I've underlined most of it. So the final one is on the topic of trust, which is one of the core drivers for my work, my engagement with clients, my professional life. So the book is called Who Can You Trust? Is by Rachel Botsman. And there are many wonderful books on the concept of trust.
Our fast pitch round is actually sponsored by TrustSmarter.com. Trusts and estates are not just for the rich and wealthy. Trust Smarter focuses on you, the consumer. Trust Smarter educates you with articles, free guides, and information on estate planning, using trust to connect you, the consumer, with the various corporate fiduciaries who want help with your trust and estate. That's TrustSmarter.com. And when asked, how did you find out about us? Type in Listen Up. Trust Smarter is a virtual cash incorporated company. Okay, now back to the show. Talking about how AI will actually be used in the trust business, you don't really hear a lot of people talking about that from an operations perspective and sort of leveraging the AI technology in that area. If you've had a lot of work.
Absolutely. I have a lot of work, and actually there is a chapter in my book, which, by the way, I have to tell you, will be published next year, not this year.
Okay.
But so it will be published in the first half of next year.
Okay. Well, that means that we're just going to have you back on next year when the book finally comes out. How does that sound?
Well, it sounds great. But let me finish on the concept of AI and trust. I spend a lot of time researching this intersection, which is again so important in our industry in financial services, and quite frankly, it's an intersection which is relevant to any business which deals with retail clients, e-commerce, you name it. As long as you deal with individuals, the intersection of AI and trust is of essence, and how AI is helping build this trust. And I've started my research looks at what is AI, what is trust, and how trust in humans, how it is built, and which are the values which derive trust. So much so that at the end of June, I will take 2 days off to go to Amsterdam in the Netherlands to speak at a conference, which is the inaugural conference. It's called Rethink Trust. It's a blockchain conference, and I was invited to speak on what artificial intelligence can help and how it can help to build trust together with blockchain. So coming back to the point of AI and trust, in a nutshell, we are, as I said earlier, for the first time in our history as a service industry, in the privileged position to use technology to enable us to build this kind of trust with our clients, with our customers, because trust is built through personalization of service, through competence, through reliability, and through transparency. So these are the 4 values, which are the 4 pillars of trust. And actually, this technology can enable us or help us to deliver on all 4 of them at all times. So it's interesting to reflect on.
Clara, this has actually been really wonderful. It's been awesome. Can you leave the audience with your 3 main takeaways?
Well, the first one would be there is a strong link between re-establishing trust in financial services and artificial intelligence. The second one is to do with what earlier we discussed as a main ingredient in a successful startup: greatness in people. Try to find your greatness. Try to find what drives you, what keeps you up at night. Take time, because that's not an exercise which will take 5 minutes. Take time, take as long as you need, but as long as you know that that's what you want to achieve, keep at it. And the third one would be perhaps in relation to the concept of trust, which is so important to me, and I think it should be the main ingredient in any relationship and in any engagement we have, not only with humans, with people, but also with the technology we use. The concept of trust will come very many times in the conversations in the media. The more technology will advance, the more the concept of trust, dressed as ethics, dressed as any other name, it is still trust. Try to find that level of trust and build it.
How are people in our audience going to stay in contact with you?
LinkedIn, Twitter.
You are definitely our artificial intelligence expert, our resource. You are the #1 face of FinTech. Thank you so much for coming on the Listen Up Show, the Mitchell Chadro podcast. This has been awesome. We want to let you know to take care. Until next time, my trusted friends. Sign up for my email list at mitchellchadro.com/sign up. Please provide a well-written review in iTunes. Go over to mitchellchadro.com/iTunes. It takes 2 minutes, but it helps others find the show. Subscribe anywhere. We are on Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, or any popular podcast aggregator. One of my favorites is actually Overcast.fm. So if you head on over to mitchellchadro.com/overcast, you can subscribe on that podcast aggregator. Thank you again, and I look forward to our next show.